So I've always liked trees. So I spent a lot of my time as a child playing in the woods. So I've always been interested in trees, but I didn't really know that much about them. My name is Dolores Bushong. I'm a retired teacher, and I've been working for the past several years on the Langdon Park Forest Patch. So in Ward 5, we've lost more canopy than any of the other wards. And part of that is because there's a lot of development right now. There was not much development in the years when I first lived here, but in the last 10 years, there's been more and more development. So at this point, wooded areas are seen just as areas that don't have any trees on them, which means a lot of city-owned land, it doesn't have anything on it. And what we're trying to say is that they really should put a moratorium on developing that land. They should not sell that to developers because they're saying that they don't see the value. So even when I moved in, which was like in 1992, I was aware that there was a forest patch, but it didn't look friendly. It doesn't look safe. Historically in this neighborhood, people were redlined. Everybody who lived here was white. As things were desegregated, little by little, the housing changed over. And everything was, really, really good. Then the crack epidemic happened. In the early years I lived here, there was incredible drug traffic in this neighborhood and in the park because people would be selling drugs in the park. It affected everything, including the forest patch. And so it wasn't like a place where you wanted to go. And that was one of the things we wanted to change. So about 2015, I had called the city to say that the vines needed to be cleared. And that didn't work out very well because what they did is they cut down the trees with the vines. They just went and did like a clear cut. And so I realized, whoa, you have to be careful what you ask for, because I was feeling very empowered that I had asked for the vines to be cut down. But I realized there had to be a better way. So I went to a conference in December 2019, with my friend Mary Pat Rowan, who's an landscape architect, and she just can identify trees with no leaves on. So she can look at the bud formation and say, oh, that's a catalpa, or that's a white ash. That's pretty amazing to work with someone who knows that. So we were listening to a person from Baltimore who has been working with forest patches, and it reminded me again that this needed some help. Then the pandemic struck, and so in March, Mary Pat and I decided, well, we couldn't just sit home all the time, so we were going to go down and use what we had learned about forest patches and just see what was in that forest. Well, in the beginning, we weren't supposed to be in the park because during the pandemic, and so there were park rangers and police, and we would just pretend we were on a little walk, that we weren't doing anything there, such as saving the trees, rescuing the trees. But what happened was that we were really able to get many of the agencies in the city involved. The problem with how things work in DC is that they're different agencies. And it's not that they aren't willing to cooperate, it's sometimes people aren't working in sync with each other. And so we got Casey Trees, they've been with us the whole time. They were willing to come help in lots of ways, GPS mapping, so when we see trees, they could put it on the map so we can talk about specifically what varieties of trees are there. We were able to really get and say this area needs protection here. So one of the big ways you protect something is give it a name. So we said it needs to say Langdon Park Forest Patch. So they put up 11 ones, and it sets the perimeter. Because before, people weren't really obeying some of the rules to protect the trees. To get a metal sign that it says that it's protected, that is for future forests. So it lets people who go by learn, because part of what you have to do is you have to educate people. You have to change the public perception of wild areas, of natural areas. There are a lot of health benefits to having trees because they sequester carbon, they clean the air, they stop stormwater from running, and the more you put impervious pavement in, like a sidewalk, it means there's no place for the water to go except down the hill from the top, wherever it is, to the bottom. And that goes into the Anacostia, and then it goes into the Chesapeake Bay. And so that dirties all of that water. So there's a big thing, of course, to try to get the water as clean as we can. And trees are a vital part of that. So that's just part of what they do. For me personally, what trees do is they are part of nature. And the most amazing thing for me, and I'm in awe, okay, of this, is that a tree, once it grows, is stuck wherever it is. Now imagine that these trees, they evolved before we did. So without trees, which give off oxygen and take in carbon dioxide, we can't be alive. So I want everybody to have the sense that they need protection. And that's what working in the forest patch really is. It's about protecting the trees and helping them regenerate so that the small trees can grow up and we'll have those trees forever.